The morning sun warmed the quiet streets of Northbrook, spilling into the kitchen of Jennifer Miller's tasteful home. At 6:45 a.m., the air was rich with the scent of coffee. Jennifer, already dressed in a simple but elegant theory dress, placed a plate of golden whole wheat toast on the table. The scene was one of curated calm, white herb planters on the counter, carefully chosen tableware, oatmeal garnished with fresh blueberries. "Still plenty of time," she said, smoothing her shoulder-length brown hair. Michael looked up from his newspaper, his smile a familiar comfort. "Perfect, as always, Jenny. This is the best way to start the day." In his modest navy suit, he was the picture of unassuming success, a senior vice president who wore his title lightly. For 5 years, these peaceful mornings had been the foundation of their marriage. The spell was broken by the shrill ring of Jennifer's phone. The screen glowed with, "Dad. So early?" she answered, her brow furrowing at her father Robert's unusually animated tone. "Jenny, it's our anniversary. We're having dinner at Lou's Blue tonight. You and Michael will be there. 7:30 sharp." A cold knot tightened in Jennifer's stomach. Lou's Blue. The name alone evoked her parents' world, a glittering, oppressive realm of showmanship in Chicago's Gold Coast. Her mother, Patricia, treated every family gathering as a stage for flaunting wealth, a performance Jennifer had long grown weary of. As she hesitated, a text flashed from her sister. "Ashley, don't you dare bail. It's their anniversary. Stop being so difficult." Ashley, who held a director title at their father's real estate company far beyond her competence, had perfected the art of condescension. Jennifer sighed, meeting Michael's gaze across the table. He gave a quiet, understanding nod, his eyes saying everything. "I'm with you. Whatever you decide." "All right, Dad. We'll be there," she said, the words tasting like surrender. After hanging up, a faint dread took root. She pushed it down, clinging to the hope that for an anniversary, just once, things might be different. By 7:28 that evening, a fine, ironic rain was misting the Gold Coast. Jennifer stood before the imposing cream-colored facade of Lou's Blue, her reflection in the gilded trimmed door showing a woman in a deep blue Ann Taylor cocktail dress, elegant and understated. Michael had texted he'd be delayed by work, and for once, his absence felt like a relief. Facing her family alone might be easier. "Miss Miller, welcome," the floor manager, Andrew, greeted her with a polished smile that didn't reach his eyes. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow on marble floors, and the quiet notes of a Chopin nocturne floated in the air. As Andrew led her through the dining room, Jennifer's heartbeat began to drum a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Then she saw them, and the scene was exactly as she had feared, yet worse in its brazenness. Her family's meal was clearly over. Plates bearing the debris of lobster shells and steak bones were pushed aside. A nearly empty bottle of expensive wine stood as a centerpiece. They had not waited. "Oh, Jenny, there you are." Her mother, Patricia, offered a smile as sharp as the Chanel jacket she wore. Her pearl necklace gleamed. "You're late, darling, but I suppose you can make it up to us by taking care of the bill." The intention was a slap. Jennifer's eyes flicked to her father, Robert, who shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his expensive suit seeming to hang a little loose on him. Beside him, Ashley smirked. "Still can't manage to be on time for anything important?" she sneered, placing her latest model smartphone conspicuously on the table. Jennifer glanced at her Rolex. 7:30 precisely. The cold anger that had been simmering inside her suddenly crystallized into ice. "I'd like to confirm the reservation time," she said, her voice unnervingly calm. Andrew looked momentarily flustered. "Your reservation is... Could I speak with the manager, please?" The air at the table froze. Patricia's smile solidified. Robert stiffened. Ashley's smirk vanished, her knuckles whitening as she gripped her phone. The genteel chatter from nearby tables seemed to hush for a beat. "The manager?" Andrew echoed, a thread of tension in his voice. "Yes, right now." In the pause that followed, the melancholic piano music seemed to grow louder, underscoring the silence. Then, a voice, smooth and authoritative, cut through the tension. "My apologies for the wait." Manager James Hartman appeared, a veteran of service with immaculate gray hair and a perfectly fitted tuxedo. "Miss Miller, how may I be of assistance?" I just wish to confirm the reservation time for my family's table." At that moment, the restaurant's heavy door opened, and a familiar figure strode in, cutting a confident path through the opulent room. It was Michael, still in his work suit, yet he carried himself with a new, formidable authority. "Father-in-law," he said, his tone cool and pleasant. "What a coincidence. I was in the neighborhood." Robert stared, speechless. But it was Manager Hartman's reaction that was most telling. His professional demeanor transformed into one of genuine deference. "Mr. Miller, a pleasure to see you, sir." The title hung in the air. Mr. Miller. Hartman produced a tablet, his fingers moving swiftly. "Let me see." The Wilson party reservation was for 6 p.m. He paused, his eyes flicking to Jennifer, with a specific notation to contact Miss Jennifer Miller for a 7:30 p.m. arrival. A strangled sound escaped Ashley. "What?" Patricia's face went pale. Robert seemed to shrink into his chair. Michael's gaze was steady. "There are a few matters I need to review concerning the restaurant." "Your restaurant?" Ashley's voice was a shrill whisper. "You work in IT." Michael offered a quiet, knowing smile, a dignity about him they had never seen. Hartman, standing straighter, provided the final, devastating confirmation. "Indeed, madam, Mr. Miller is the silent owner of Lou's Blue." According to the reservation system, Manager Hartman stated, his voice clear and impartial. The Wilson party was seated at 6 p.m. They completed their main courses, lobster salad and prime ribeye, and dessert by approximately 7:15. Each word landed with the weight of a verdict. The empty plates, once just clutter, were now undeniable evidence of a calculated snub. The soft light from the chandelier, which had felt elegant moments before, now seemed a harsh, exposing glare. Michael moved to stand beside Jennifer, his presence a solid, calming force. The air in the restaurant grew thick, the background music shifting to a more somber classical piece that mirrored the tension. "Lou's Blue," Michael began, his voice calm but carrying easily in the hushed room, "is the flagship property of the Chicago Restaurant Group, a group I acquired 2 years ago." Ashley let out a choked, disbelieving laugh. "Acquired? You're a tech executive. This is absurd." Hartman, with impeccable timing, clarified softly, "Mr. Miller is the majority owner. All 5 of our group's establishments hold Michelin stars." He directed his next words to Jennifer with a slight bow, "and Mrs. Miller is a significant minority shareholder." The revelation hung in the air, silencing Ashley. Patricia's carefully constructed composure shattered. Her hand, reaching for her champagne flute, trembled so violently she had to set it down. "But why the secrecy?" Robert finally croaked, his face ashen. The bluster of the real estate patriarch was gone, replaced by a profound confusion. "Why hide this?" "Because it wasn't relevant," Jennifer answered, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "We wanted you to see us, not our portfolio. We wanted a relationship, not a transaction." It was this simple, devastating truth that broke them. Robert's shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of him. He looked down at the tablecloth, unable to meet her eyes. "The company," he began, his voice a ragged whisper. "It's been on the brink since the '08 crash. The debt? I couldn't let anyone know. I was a fool, clinging to a ghost." The admission was a painful expulsion of a long-held secret. Patricia began to cry, quiet, messy tears that streaked her makeup. "We were so afraid of being seen as failures. The house, the cars, it was all a stage set. We were just pretending." Then, Ashley spoke, her voice small and stripped of its usual spite. "It was my fault, too. Dad gave me the director title to save face. I couldn't close a deal to save my life." She looked at Jennifer, her eyes brimming with a raw honesty that was entirely new. "I was jealous of you. You built a real life. I just played a part. I'm so sorry, Jenny." Jennifer watched the collapse of her family's facade. There was no triumph in it, only a deep, aching sadness. She stood, her blue dress a pillar of calm in the emotional storm. "Look at me," she said, not as a command, but as an invitation. Her parents and sister raised their tear-streaked faces. "I'm not interested in blame. I'm interested in what happens now. The pretense ends tonight." Michael placed a supportive hand on the small of her back. "Robert," he said, his tone respectful yet firm. I know some people. We can look at the company's books next week. There are always options. But, Jennifer interjected, her gaze sweeping over all three of them, from now on, we interact as we are. No more lies. No more performances. That is the only condition. Outside, the city lights glittered, witnesses to a long overdue reckoning. Hartman, sensing the shift, discreetly motioned for a waiter. Perhaps the family would like a fresh bottle of champagne? On the house, to start anew. 6 months later, a gentle snow fell on Northbrook, blanketing the neighborhood in a quiet hush. Inside Jennifer's home, the warmth of the fireplace fought off the winter chill. Robert, looking more relaxed in a simple sweater than he ever had in an expensive suit, pored over financial documents at the coffee table. The refinancing is finalized, he said, a genuine smile touching his lips. It's a fresh start. Thank you, both of you. From the kitchen, the sweet scent of vanilla and baking cookies wafted out. Patricia emerged, wiping her hands on a flour-dusted apron, a sight that would have been unimaginable months before. The first batch is almost ready. Jenny, your recipe is a godsend. I'll help plate them, Ashley called out, hurrying in. She had resigned from her father's company and was studying for her real estate license. She held up her phone, her face alight with excitement. I got my results. I passed. A wave of genuine congratulations filled the room. Jennifer hugged her sister tightly. The old rivalry had been replaced by a supportive, honest bond. The front door opened, bringing a flurry of cold air and Michael, who was carrying a small, undecorated Christmas tree. I thought we could all do this together, he said, brushing snow from his coat. Jennifer smiled, meeting his eyes. She took a gentle breath and placed a hand on her still flat stomach. Actually, before we decorate, we have some news. The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Michael and I are going to have a baby, next summer. For a moment, there was only the crackle of the fire. Then, pure, unscripted joy erupted. Patricia clasped her hands over her heart, tears of happiness welling in her eyes. Robert's face broke into a wide, unreserved smile. Ashley gasped, then rushed forward to hug her sister again. A baby, Patricia whispered. Oh, Jenny, this time, we can be a real family, a proper grandmother. Robert nodded, his voice thick with emotion. That's wonderful news, truly. As they gathered around the tree, unpacking ornaments and laughing, the scene was a world away from the tense dinner at Lou's Blue. The cookies were slightly burnt at the edges, the tree was a little lopsided, and everything was perfectly, beautifully real. Jennifer watched them, her father carefully hanging a bauble, her mother and sister laughing in the kitchen, her husband steady beside her. This was not a performance. It was messy. It was honest. And it was finally, after all this time, home. The firelight flickered, casting a warm glow on their new beginning.